Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Your home for all content Marvel Mystic Mayhem. We got news of two huge updates today, one for tomorrow and then one for the following week. And I want to go through them with you and, talk about the context around them and possible implications and maybe what you should be doing to prepare for some of these updates, especially the next week one. These are big changes, I would say, and we're getting a little bit of warning for some of the bigger changes, so I appreciate that. We basically just have a week. So let's just go through first the update for tomorrow. They're adding a new Loki memento. I saw, and somebody in my community, True, saw that they had added Loki memento images to the game files. I wasn't going to make a whole video about data mining a new memento. That didn't seem worth it. Seemed a little too vaporous, let's say. But I'm glad that they're adding a memento side to the story. It seems like that maybe when they do this new themes, they're going to add some story, they're going to add some memento, and then just kind of get both of the story aspects there. They're adding a Bifrost Brawl friend battle mode. I really like this because it means that you can essentially not use your attempts, but come up with good compositions and placements and see what works and see what doesn't work, and to sort of put things in a lab. It's kind of like a sandbox mode. I know people are starting to enjoy Bifrost Brawl more. I think people were maybe a little bit iffy on it at first, but now people are starting to like it. One suggestion I have, and I'm not the only one to suggest this here, is that they give us the ability to add sort of a skill priority system to Bifrost Brawl, or maybe it's a new mode entirely. I'm not sure what would be better. But basically you can choose for your heroes, okay, what would show up on the skill bar are these skills, use them in sort of this priority. So, okay, if I have Invisible Woman, I would choose to use, this skill, her 3 debuff skill over her 2 debuff skill, and you can change maybe the order between who you're using in there as well. So like I would use, Invisible Woman skills over, let's say, the Thing skills, or, kind of swap the order in between there. I think that would add a lot of depth while still maintaining the sort of auto battler nature of Bifrost Brawl. They might be doing that in other games. They probably are. I couldn't tell you an example off the top of my head, but I think that would give you an additional level of strategizing that is, I think, needed in the PvP type mode. New Dreamweaver, Roaring Thunder. So Thor is going to replace Loki as the banner. That is something I suspected. It goes with the Asgardian theme. I know people were like, it's going to be Doctor Strange. That didn't make any sense to me. It's definitely going to be Thor, and they've added in, of course, his highlight, which I think is the important part here. So let me go to gallery really quick. I've showed this in a previous video. They've added it back in. I think it's basically the same. Let's see. I don't have it, so it should be down here. Berserker's Rage here, right? So this is going to greatly increase his attack speed by 30%, and then increasing the attack on his basic attacks when attacking debuffed enemies, which should be pretty much all the time. And then additional effect when equipped by Thor, crit rate increased by 12% when dealing damage to electrified enemies. So this is going to be massive. I think the only maybe change that they have, and this could just be a visual bug here, is that I believe the crit rate used to be 15% at max, and it seems to just still be 12%, but I'm not sure if that's a visual bug or not. Okay, so what does this mean, though? Basically, we're going to have Thor banner for 2 weeks. They mentioned in their road ahead that they're aiming to have 2 to 3 characters per sort of theme, which is every 6 weeks, right? So we've got Loki as a new character. They also wanted to do a mix of 2 and 3 star characters. So what I'm hoping is that after Thor, we get some sort of new character and an additional, banner character and an additional 2-star character. I would love to have an additional 2 Asgardians. I didn't make a worth the whale on Loki, but to me, it seems that he's sort of missing somebody to synergize with. He doesn't really, I feel like he doesn't really work that well with Thor and obviously Angela. They work fine together. Loki and Thor work fine together, but it still feels like Loki's maybe missing something. And I think that makes sense because he's a controller. And so he's just got something else he needs to add to help him out to his kit. Loki's all right. He can do some serious damage for a controller. But I feel like there's going to be something else coming in the next 2 weeks that I'm excited for. I hope it's Hela or something, or Odin would be awesome as well. Okay, new Nightfall boss Dragon Armor is now open, and this is interesting. They're going to change things up, and now Nightfall, the Dragon Armor is going to have special damage weakness. This wasn't previously the case. This is going to change up basically who is able to do the most damage and get the top spots. Previously was Iron Man was pretty much always in that mix with special damage weakness. I think that that's going to shift. The comps will probably shift to something Invisible Woman focused. Invisible Woman was not out the last time we had Dragon Armor. Maybe Invisible Woman, Loki, and Thor. I'm thinking just to capitalize on that special damage weakness. Probably Emma's in that mix as well, and Doctor Strange is always up there. This also means that teams that were basically working on doing follow-up attacks are not going to be as strong here because those typically rely on using Echo and Spider-Man. So we'll see the top of Nightfall change who is the best, which I think is something I appreciate. I hope in the future that on top of doing things like special damage weakness, that they will add maybe some other types of modifiers that are not just special damage, physical damage. I understand they want to do that right now because people are still building up their rosters. The game is maybe just a few months old, and so they want to take things a little bit slower in mixing them up and not run out of things right away. But I think this is a good sign. New pack, don't care. Game of Khonshu will introduce new points and leaderboards. That's interesting. And upon completing the game of Khonshu, players will earn a certain amount of points. The leaderboards will rank players based on the accumulated points and number of flawless victories. I'm curious to see how that will work. The leaderboard will reset when a new season of Game of Khonshu begins. Okay, I like Game of Khonshu actually quite a bit. I mean, I like both of the roguelike modes. So we'll see what this brings. Important optimizations. New Bifrost Brawl now available. Okay, so this seems like they're going to maybe run it every week. Like it's going to always be on, but every 2 weeks. Right, yes. Every 2 weeks is when the rewards will reset. So you'll get the like ranking rewards and I'll just show you. Let's go here. I like that they're adding the modes in consistently and people can get more rewards. I want to make a video about how many keys you should be able to expect to get per month, and it's not as many as I would like. So you should be able to get this reward track, plus obviously then this reward track as well every 2 weeks. And then I think that's basically going to amount to 200 gems every 2 weeks. That's not a lot, but all these modes start to add up a little by little, hopefully to an appropriate amount. But we'll talk about that at some other time. New Mystic Arts Brawl now available. I have no idea what this is, but it lasts for a week. I'm curious about this. If it's going to be some other new type of PvP mode, or maybe I'm just not remembering what the other... No, the other one's called like Clash or something, Mystic Clash. So this seems to be a new thing, and it says new. Okay, optimized stuff. Rotation frequency, this is big. Game of Khonshu and Crimson Campaign are going to go from every 3 weeks down to every 1 week. I think this is a good change. It's nice to mix that up, kind of max things out. One note I will have is people originally sort of freaked out when they changed the rewards week to week for Crimson Campaign, and it was for Crimson Campaign, I believe, right? And they were seeing this reward track as the weeks turned over. People were like, well, that was the way it always was. The first week was the nice, good rewards that had additional gems. It was like 300 gems and maybe some more keys or something like that. And then afterwards, it was this reward track. But I think for this Crimson Campaign, it's been this reward track every single time. And so my thinking about that is that it is probably when the roguelike campaign first came out, people were able to get the better reward track. And now that it's continued to sort of rotate between them, you get this reward track, which I don't like personally. And the reason I don't like it is because it contains the roguelike currency in the reward track, and this 100 currency counts towards the amount you can get per week. I don't like that. Change that, please. That's not a good design, in my opinion. Bunch of bug fixes. They talk about Hurricane Strike. I don't know what that is. I'm pretty sure what they mean is Horror Hurricane. In which case the leaderboard display issue getting fixed would make sense, but they keep changing the names on stuff here too, and it's a little bit confusing for everybody. 200 gems is nice. Okay, this is, I would say, much bigger news than the update that's coming tomorrow. So this update is coming on August 21st, so we have more than a week at the moment, at the recording of this video, to prepare for this update, which I appreciate. They are raising the level cap from 70 to 80. The talent level cap is going from 7 to 8. And the highlight level cap is going from 70 to 80 as well. So What I'm thinking might be the case here is that, let me go to, I don't want to go here. I want to go to converter. No, I want to go to produce. They have these gold uh, materials in game already. They've been in the game since the game launched. I'm wondering if that's going to be the case, that we're going to be using these to go from 70, to ascend from 70 to 71. And then using those to get those level 8 abilities. And you'll probably also need dream cores, which are already in sort of tight supply. So we're starting to feel the squeeze on progression systems. Just a quick, how do I feel about them already adding progression systems? Well, that's fine. I know a lot of people were complaining that it was too easy to sort of max out this soon after the game launched. My concern is that we're not going to have anything to do now that we're level 80. So what's the additional content that we need to be at level 84? That's what I really want to know, okay? And I don't consider this basically additional content in the way that, you know what I'm talking about, right? Adding increasing the level of the stages that you need to get the materials to go from 70 to 80 is not really adding level 80 content. Okay, but that's important to note. They are adding Battle Bonanza increases, Treasure Hunt increases, right? And Rune Raid increases. So my guess is that those epic gold materials are going to come at these higher levels for Treasure Hunt and Rune Raid. And I want you to be a little bit prepared here. So here is what it takes to go from 61 to 70 for leveling your character here. It takes 67k gold, not too much, but it takes 515k XP. And then to go from 1 to 60 only requires 581k XP, right? So similar values here. My guess is that from 70 to 80, if I'm taking an educated guess, it's going to require somewhere around 500 to, my guess is closer to 1 million XP. That's just a guess to go from 70 to 80. Highlights is where you sink a lot of your gold. So my guess is that you're going to need an additional 1 to 1.5 mil for that, all that particular stuff. And then, yeah, we're going to see what you need for getting those new materials, whether they're the gold ones or not. But I just wanted to bring that up, that you have a week to prepare. I don't think it's a waste to start hoarding gold and tactic XP, because my guess is that you're going to need a lot of it to go from 70 to 80. And we aren't sure exactly what the materials you're going to need to use to ascend from 70 to 71, both for characters, highlights, and talents. But you can be pretty sure that you're going to need gold and XP. So that brings up a good question, which is what should you be doing in sort of the meantime to prepare for this level increase? And I think hoarding gold, hoarding XP, picking out which characters you want to bring up to level 80 right away to make sure that, they're at sort of the top of their game for whatever content they hopefully release to be tackled by level 80 characters, and making sure that you're prepared for that. You can, of course, also start stockpiling some, energy here. I think that's what I'm going to try and do here, is make sure that this is particularly full. And then maybe a few days beforehand, what I will do is also just start, stockpiling energy here. And then making sure that this is not completely full. And then that way, when it rolls over on Thursday, I'll probably start doing this like maybe a day or two in advance. I have an abundance of energy to get all the materials that I need. I would also say that if you are going to pull on the Thor banner, make sure that you're saving that dream dust so that you can also acquire different materials there. Okay. After clearing the current difficulty at 3-star, the next difficulty will be unlocked. Basically, what this means, the Dream Scrapple, is that you have to complete the previous difficulty of Battle Bonanza, Treasure Hunt, Rune Raids to get to the level 8 difficulty or the level 7 difficulty for Rune Raid, right? Lowered the level requirements and adjusted some of this stuff. That's fine. I hope it's adjusted down, but I guess we'll see. Now, this is a big deal here. Artifact adjustments. Each hero can only equip one unique artifact. That is a huge change. Basically, all of the top builds for Nightfall, at least, and probably Bifrost Brawl as well, all had probably at least 2 artifacts on at least one character, especially the damage dealer. But the more unique artifacts you can get on a character, honestly, the better it was. So this is a big change, and it means that you are going to have, you're probably going to still move some artifacts around. So like the cube is probably still going to move between your different controllers that you're using in different team setups. But my guess is that this is going to basically settle, okay, this is the best artifact I would use with this character, and this is a character that I'm using. So okay, I have Loki, I have the evil eye. I want to have Loki use the evil eye. That's probably going to stay on him. Cyttorax gem, I'm going to put that on Juggernaut. Okay. And so I guess what that'll give us the ability to do is give people recommendations which unique artifact should go on which characters. Maybe there's a set of 3, and if people have one of those characters, they can put it on that particular character, as opposed to adjusting everything all the time. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm still sort of processing that. I think it's fine. Maybe it's interesting. 2 unique artifacts, I think, means that they haven't adjusted the power for them and the balance for them, if that makes sense. If they want them to be unique and they want them to be that good, then they need to have some sort of other restrictions on them, I guess, if that makes sense. And it doesn't feel that way at the moment. Although I'm not sure how much this is actually going to do anything with that. But they're adding legendary quality to existing common artifacts with a level cap of 20. So what that means is that if you go inventory here, these artifacts are now going to be able to be legendary quality, which really is good and bad. It means that I'm going to have to do a lot more work to get data on artifacts. We have a spreadsheet that I'm going to hopefully be making a video about that basically has been collecting data on purple artifacts mainly, and telling you what sort of the minimum, the maximum, and the average for different stat rolls are. That is going to be a video I have to make, and then we'll have to, I guess, make an update video for when the gold artifacts. And then we'll learn something about the stat rolls for these two, because the stat rolls for gold, blue, and unique artifacts are different here. But that's a topic for a different video here. I like that. And so then what they're going to do is they're also adjusting Fabled Finds, and the new difficulty in Fabled Finds will be able to drop the unique artifacts. So those ones you can only get once, and you can only equip one on per character, and then legendary common artifacts. So those are your things like your Gamma Shield, your Jetpack, your Shuriken, whatnot, right? And then 4 and 5 have a chance to drop the legendary common artifact, but no longer drop the unique artifact. So part of me now wonders if they're going to add additional unique artifacts to that drop pool. So if we go back to gallery here, and we go to artifacts, there's some artifacts in the game, Crown of Blindness, Stormcaster, Eye of Agamotto, that are in the game, but we don't currently have a way to get them, at least as far as I'm aware. This is a very interesting one, especially for Nightfall. And this is an interesting one as well. Well, they're all interesting and can be used on good characters. And maybe they will be hints as to what characters are being released. Maybe. Okay. I like that they're basically tailoring Fabled Finds to be more specific. So you can kind of plan out when you want to do Fabled Finds during a week because you want this particular artifact. I like having that additional level of control. Increase the drop rate of epic common artifacts in Fabled Finds. That's good because right now it's, I would say, pretty low. And, it's going to be a good base level for your characters to have those purple common artifacts on them. And then, okay, you should still be able to see it. Temple of Oblivion and Temple of Khonshu in Crimson Campaign and Game of Khonshu now feature level 75 chests and level 75 chests. Great. 2 chests that are level 75, which have the chance to obtain the unique artifacts, legendary, and epic common artifact. They are changing this around, but anecdotally, I have no evidence to support this. People in my community were mostly getting their unique artifacts from doing the roguelikes. So I got pretty much all of my unique artifacts from doing Game of Khonshu. I know somebody who spent 2 weeks doing Fabled Finds. They switched over to Game of Khonshu, and they got all of the unique artifacts in a number of days. Anecdotal, though, so I don't know how true that is. And then level 55, 65 chests have a chance to contain legendary and epic common artifacts, but can't contain unique artifacts. So they're bumping the unique artifact requirement up to the end game. That's fine. Just the number of essence shards dropped in Fabled Finds difficulty 5. I do wonder now with the addition of these epic common artifacts if we're going to start feeling the crunch on essence shards, because I think right now everybody sort of has an abundance of them, but going up to level 20 maybe it'll start to really, strain that particular resource. We'll see. And then target artifact acquisition. And this is something I just talked about. Each dungeon will only drop a specific type of artifact rather than all types. And then players can choose that corresponding type. So Game of Khonshu and Crimson Campaign chests, though, will still have sort of a different combination. Maybe you'll have some that work in Crimson Campaign. So you'll get some, some have an additional drop rate in Crimson Campaign, and some have an additional drop rate in Game of Khonshu, is what it seems like here. So they're changing up how to acquire artifacts. Artifacts seem to be sort of the mods, how you add a little bit of depth to your characters. I would say it's not as there's not as much depth as I would like. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is that they will be also adding a number of variety of attribute entries suitable for controllers and defenders to appear through artifacts. So it says through refine, though. So that is a little bit confusing to me because currently you can only refine. Can you refine things other than unique artifacts? Let's just go here. He's got 2. Okay, that was useless. Just bear with me for a moment here. Enhance. So there's no refine button for these. So maybe, oh, you know what I bet they're going to do? When they make the legendary, so the gold version of these common artifacts, I bet they will also get a refine, and then you will be able to get additional stats that way for controllers and defenders. I also hope they just naturally show up when you get new legendary artifacts. That would be good as well. So right now, the way it works is that the blue artifacts have a smaller subset of stats that you can roll into here for these substats. Purple artifacts have additional substats that you can get. And I so far can't tell that if there's like additional stats that you can get on the unique artifacts. To me, it seems not the case. It sounds like they are now adding those, and they will probably potentially add those to the legendary common artifacts. And my guess is that also the legendary common artifacts are going to be ones that you can reroll. So they're adding an additional gold sink to the game. I like the artifact changes. I think that's fine. This is an additional progression system here. But where is the content that we can complete with our newly minted level 80 characters? What is going to be more difficult? Are they adding difficulty to the nightmare, to Nightfall modes? It doesn't seem like that. They didn't talk about that. Adding a new story that requires you to be level 80 is not the best, in my opinion. So if we remember and think back to the dev roadmap that they released basically a month ago at this point, they've pretty much completed everything on there. Actually, I can just go to it and show you after I scroll through. Open a full view. And let's go to the top here. I really wish there was a better way to do this. Okay. So, new gameplay systems here. Let's talk. I just want to talk about this paragraph really quick. So in addition to the upcoming content mentioned above, we're also working on several gameplay systems. They've added Alliance War. They've added Superflow Challenge. I will say that the Superflow Challenge, the next version of that, I always forget how to get to challenge, this is coming out next week. So maybe Furious Fall will require that you are level 80. I hope Furious Fall is maybe a little bit more challenging as well. We'll see. So maybe that is going to require being level 80. And then there's also, this is the game mode that they still have to release, which is solo mode. So they've actually made a lot of progress on their dev roadmap, which I appreciate. But I would also like maybe a further reaching dev roadmap that has maybe things that are subject to change, but some potential plans down the road, so we can maybe think, okay, these are things that are coming, and not just these are things that are coming within the next month. I like both, right? I want to know what's coming in the next few months, what they've got for sure coming out, and then what are some possible things that they've got coming in the pipeline down the road. That's not just we're already working on additional story and themed events. But that's all my thoughts here. I maybe rambled on for a little bit, but I wanted to get that all out there because I think there is going to be some big changes that we have to anticipate. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments below, and thanks for watching, and take it easy.